This week on the Three Rings podcast.
At the end of that class, I got offered a scholarship, and the rest is history. If you didn't perform, they boo you off stage. So you needed to be good. The money was better then than it is now. Instead of making you a machine of looking good in an exam, let's make you a dancer. Let's make you able to actually move, pick up choreography, and when we got guest teachers coming in, they feel like, whoa, these guys can dance.
Welcome to the Three Rings podcast. My name's Stuart Bishop. I'm here with my fellow director, Bailey J. Muir.
Before we get into this great episode, hit subscribe on the channel, give us a like on the video, and turn on your notification bell up top so you know all about next week.
This week's guest is Jordi Guitart. Jordi's professional career has taken him all over the world, both as a dancer and choreographer, having worked in the West End for shows like Saturday Night Fever, Cava, Fame's European tour, and UK tours of West Side Story and Jesus Christ Superstar, as well as working as a choreographer for pop artists and live shows. Jordi has worked as a guest teacher and choreographer for many of the main dance and performing arts colleges in the UK and abroad,
including EPA, where he is head of dance.
Hello, Jordi Guitart. Oh my word, how's it going, dude?
Hello, my friend. How's it going to you? It's been a long time, my friend. Long time.
Well, we've known each other for a long time. It's only actually been we saw each other at one of the Bodywork shows. I think about a year ago, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Very briefly, I saw you and your wonderful wife, Nicola. Jordi, Bailey, Jordi. I don't think you ever met, but you possibly might have heard of each other.
Hey, man.
My friend.
I'm good. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. I've heard a lot about you, actually, as it happens. Ooh. So I was down at your end of the country. You know,
way up north.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, God's country up there. You know, seriously. Yeah, I was there with the lovely Julie Hatton, in your old college, and she spoke very highly of you. So I just thought like, oh, this is just a great way to, first of all, get to know you and catching up with my crazy old friend Stuart.
But funny you mentioned Stuart's name, because actually I was literally with him 2-3 weeks ago, and he mentioned your name, and I think we booked you for the podcast the very next day. I was like, that's such a coincidence. Yeah. I love that you've been up north with Julie as well. I love when people go up. Like, I'm sure when you got there, the standard for like a BTEC college, it's incredible, isn't it?
Believe me, I seriously, obviously, as you guys know, I look at a lot of guesting here, there, and everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. The standard in that college, small as it is, it was insane. It was a beauty to choreograph. Basically, I was helping Julie with something that she wanted me to finish for her. So I did, but I was seriously flabbergasted, really, with the standard. The kids were incredible, and completely a different attitude than in London.
That's always the overriding thing. I always talk about the northern attitude. They've got that drive behind them. I love it. Love that you've been up.
Well, seriously, I know that you came from there, so it's I cannot say enough good things because I had a lovely time. I know that Julie wants me to go there and guest again, and so we will make it happen. But in the meantime, at least I get to know the great Bailey. There you go.
I know. Good to meet you after all this time. I've heard your name so many times. Obviously, learning from Stuart since I was about 15. So 10 years. So your name has come up every lesson I ever had. I'm surprised we haven't crossed paths before now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, seriously, I love Stuart.
Oh, legend.
Right, can we stop this loving and get on with the actual podcast? We're meant to be bigging you up, not you bigging us up.
I'm service, so that's it.
No, I told you, Bailey. But George, you're pure love, pure positivity, and it's completely, absolutely real. Many people will say things, but Jordi, you are one of these people who are just. Well, in a minute we're going to find out who exactly you are. but you said something just when you came on. You said, Stuart, my old friend. Now I'm gonna actually have to say, for once, I'm not the oldest on this bloody podcast. You are definitely older than me. How old are you now, Jordi?
I'm going to be 62 this year.
Bloody hell!
Oh, no way.
I thought you was about 50. I don't know. I just presumed you were like 4 or 5 years older than me. So just early 50s. Oh my God.
I'm going to listen here, my friend.
Well, that's brilliant for me because I'm always the bloody oldest one on here. Right, Jordi. Well, there's a lot to go through. And your the fact that you have reached that great age and are still in the profession, and still a very well known person within the profession. It's a testimony to really how much people love you, and I'd say B, how professional you are as a performer, and how much you're into it. You really do care. So what we're going to do, we've got a load of questions for you, which we're going to fire at you. But our first question we've been asking our guests recently is it's not a trick question, but it's kind of like we just want to. The question is, who is Jordi Guitart? And the reason we ask at the start, because we don't want our audience to sort of find out who exactly you are over a period of time, throughout the whole podcast. We want to know right at the start what you think who you are, because they can create their own opinions as they watch this. But I think it's always interesting to sort of basically ask this question straight away, just so we can get it from the horse's mouth, and then we'll see throughout the podcast if that is you or not. So, Jordi, who is Jordi Guitart?
Well, Jordi Guitart is first and foremost a family man. I love anything to do with family. I love my family to death. And everyone that I allow to be my family, which sometimes is colleagues like yourself, sometimes is other teachers from other colleges, sometimes is like kids that I teach, which I always call my fam, because I believe that, it's all about the love. And the love will bring back love, So yeah, I'm definitely first and foremost a family man that happens to be a dance teacher and a choreographer and a director and blah blah blah. I do have a passion for teaching that has always been there with me for the last 34 years that I've been in this country, and I like to empower others in their art, because I believe that empowering should be everyone else's goals, just helping people up, because we, as we're in a profession that that's not the easiest thing to do. So when I believe in empowering people with me, people that are without me, people that don't believe in me, I'll give you power so you can come at me with the weapons, because by the end of the day, if you don't like me, I need to appreciate that. I don't, that's it. So power to everyone. So I believe as a teacher and as a choreographer, I believe in good technique. Technique is always been the weapon for me. So I believe in good technique, because basic good technique takes you everywhere, as you know. You were really well brought up in a beautiful place called Bodywork, where technique was paramount. And man, look at your career. So I believe in good technique. I'm loyal. Some people would say, especially my wife, to a fault. I'm loyal to a fault, and sometimes people have come at me not in the nicest ways just because of that, because I actually want to believe in goodness in people. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but hey, that is my problem. It's no one else's. So outside of dance, I am a man that loves theatre, loves music, films, and comics. I love my comics, man. I've got a wicked collection. So I go to the gym nearly every day. I love a massive sandwich, and I love Fuji. So there you go. That's me. That's me in a nutshell.
Oh, that's such a beautiful answer to that question. You've gone into so much there. We're going to come back to like family, your philosophy, etc. later on in this episode. But first, I want to rewind back to the very, very start for you. Obviously, you grew up in Spain. Tell me about that. How was having a childhood in Spain, and how was the dance scene in Spain as well? Tell us about those early years for you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a dancer. I became a dancer by a fluke. It was a miracle, because when I was a kid, it was all about the football. I used to play football. I considered myself okay, so I was doing well. I had a little bit of an injury, and then at the same time, I didn't know what I was doing with my life really, and bam, the army came calling. So I went to the army for a year and a half. So I came back from the army, and I suddenly had I just found respect for my parents, for the job they've done, because I wasn't the nicest young man to start with. So my parents, as soon as I came back from the army, I apologized to them. I said, how much of an idiot I was, and how little respect I had for myself now that I knew how terrible I was to them. So, and then I went into martial arts. So I wanted to find myself. I wanted to philosophize what it means to be when you find yourself, So I went into martial arts for a few years. I found, a lot of, martial arts did help me incredibly. I found discipline. That was the main thing I found. Without discipline, you can get nowhere in life. So I was really well disciplined. I had a job in a medical lab, and I was doing I had 35 people working for me, and I had company car, a great salary, blah, 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 all that rubbish, but no happiness. So I came to this country. Maybe you want to know how I got into dancing. So I got into dancing because of my sister, really, because 2 years before I came to this country, she said, why don't you pop in? You're all doing all this martial arts thing. You're a little bit loose, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you get in there? You obviously have a little bit of coordination. So I thought, okay. So I went to a dance class in these studios in Barcelona called José de la Vega. And I got there, and there were 40 girls and no boys.
I can see where this is going.
And I thought, hello. And, obviously that was a very crazy thing for me. It's I want a bit of this. But as soon as I took classes, I forgot about the girls around me. I was there, and I just loved dancing so much. And I was only doing it as a part-time thing, nothing major, blah, blah, blah. But I loved dancing. So I came to this country 2 years later. It was 1990 when I came. And I was doing a summer holiday in Cambridge. And my friend's wife said, why don't you pop with me to this studio? You do a little bit of dancing. So just come to this studio, come for one adult class, and you will love it there, blah, blah, blah. So I went, and I went to Bodywork. So I went to this class with one of my mentors, a lady called Tariq, which I love since, I love to death. And this lady taught the class, and she just saw this strange guy that was okay, he's got a little bit of a tan, he's all dressed in white. And I have no idea why he's not dancing with us. But I couldn't speak a word of English, so I couldn't understand any of this rubbish. So, but my friend's wife said, they want you to come back tomorrow. And I said, I have no money. But she's like, no, the class is on them. They just want to see you again. I'm like, bring it on. So I went the day after, and there was a panel of people watching the class. And I'm like, what is this? I really thought the Brits are weird. These guys are weird. So I just thought, this is crazy. But at the end of that class, I got offered a scholarship, and the rest is history.
Wow. So just going back there, it's so interesting to hear really the main reason why you got into dance was because of the amount of women. Because that was the exact same reason for me. And I think a very big reason for many straight boys back then. Let me just ask you then, because it wasn't a time where, it was cool for boys to dance. Why? How did you sort of combat that? Did you get any type of, because I remember myself, yes, where I went to do a BTEC before I went to Bodywork, it was all very positive because they had a dance course, but everyone else around me, I remember my dad calling me a woofter and all these type of things. And my friends, my friends from school didn't quite understand, why are you going into dance? That's because, on TV, it was only Wayne Sleep and people like that. Was there any type of sort of worry there? Was there any, did you have, sort of, channel vision, just on, well, look, all I can see is the dance, which I enjoy, and the girls, which I love. Just tell us about that. What were in Spain? Was it cool for guys at that age to dance, or what?
Look, to be honest, because I started late, with all this dancing malaki, I started late, so I didn't have any problems. So people's perceptions meant nothing to me because I was laser-like focused.
Right.
I loved dancing. I suddenly found the love of my life, just like that. So I thought, I really couldn't care less about people's opinions, but it obviously helped that I was older. So when I first came to this country, that meant absolutely nothing. I knew why I was coming here. I was coming here to train and to, I know this is a big word, but succeed in what I do, because I didn't want to go home. I'll always remember the first 3 months in this country were probably one of the most difficult periods of my life, because I couldn't speak a word of English. So that's me listening to Beatles songs and reading comics to try to learn the language, to make it somehow palatable, and somehow, I needed to get into this, working in pizza land for £2 an hour and washing dishes while I was doing my 9 till 5 and then 6 till 12. So training and washing dishes, just to try to learn the language. So those first 3 months, the only thing that kept me in this country, being brutally honest, was I didn't want to go back to see my dad saying, "I told you so." That was it. That was it. I just thought, I'm not going to give anyone any reason for them to say, "I told you, you're too old now, go back to the medical lab and carry on working there with that really good money, company car, people working for you, all that rubbish." I just thought, no, I love this. I'm going to make a go. So that was it, really.
It's so interesting to hear, because I feel like with boys, the stories for boys are much more kind of dramatic than sort of the thousands of girls that sort of fall into dance. With the guys, there's always some kind of, they were coming from this or coming from that, or parents not believing in them. I think it's different nowadays because you've got role models like Diversity and Flawless and and all these kind of people where it's cool for guys. I mean, obviously there was the break dancers, which were always cool, but they were very much seen as break dancers sort of over there, and technical stuff was completely sort of different. I want to go back and just sort of talk more about your bodywork experience. My first ever sort of, basically, it was a picture that I saw of you. And I saw you in a picture doing these jumps with Darren Childs. So Darren Childs, for anyone who doesn't know, amazing dancer, amazing choreographer. He was the person who got me into dance, basically. I saw him dancing one day at a drama thing I was teaching with. He had long flowing hair like you did back in the day. And I just thought, wow. And there were some pictures of you and Darren in the top studio at Bodywork with the beams. And these pictures were part of the prospectus or something. And I was just like, wow, these are the people that I want to be like. Unfortunately, I was never going to grow the hair long because, it was always, by the time I think I finished Bodywork, it was almost time to shave it off. But tell us more about, those 3 years while you was at college. did you feel prepared to leave? You know, you went from, I presume, having hardly any technique to, by the time you left in the third year, like a cyborg. Tell us, you know, what bodywork means to you, because you still go back, you still support. You know, you've been a massive supporter of bodywork for so long. But yeah, just tell us a little bit more about those 3 years, because obviously coming from Spain, you not only have you got the difficulties of adjusting, but you would have been what, one of maybe 3 or 4 boys and so many girls, maybe. Just give us the lowdown on those 3 years. Or was it 3 years or 4 years, or was it 2 years back then?
Well, first of all, I have to say that, you know, on that first class that I just mentioned, where I got offered the scholarship, that's when I first met my beautiful wife, Nicola. So there you go. And then Nicola went to London Studio Centre, and so I stayed, you know, doing what it was called then the foundation course at Bodywork. They didn't have a 3-year course, so it was the foundation course. So I did my foundation course, graduated, and auditioned for Urdang, and I went there for a year because I wanted to. Urdang was the ballet college back then. So it was London Studio, but that was the jazz college, and then you had people that went to Urdang, and they were well known by their technique. So I just wanted to improve my technique. So yeah, my route through all this was really weird, because I did foundation course, 1 year Urdang, finishing year at Bodywork. And the only reason why I went back to Bodywork was because everything that I gained technique-wise, I lost in performance. And the thing that I did with Bodywork is not from day one, but after 3 months, I joined the Bodywork company. So we used to do weekend shows going to Holland in a ferry, in this little boat that used to go from Sheerness in Kent all the way to Vlissingen in Holland every weekend. So we used to do like 4 shows every weekend with an audience there. So if you didn't perform, this was like truck drivers and people that didn't, you know, give a monkeys about performance. So if you didn't perform, they boo you off stage. So you needed to be good. So that talk about a learning curve. That was mine, because I was like thrown straight into the lions. You know, I was just like 3 months into my training, and I was, for whatever the reasons, Teresa thought, okay, we need that boy to come and join the company. So forever grateful, because there's no better training than that, performing every weekend to strangers. They don't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And you just had to give it 101 every single show like that. And then, you know, just everything sort of snowballed from there. I was lucky enough. I mean, as I said, you know, to me, 2 people that I will always, always, always be thankful for is Teresa and Patrick Kerr, you know, mentors forever. And then Leonie Urdang, because she was incredible to me. I mean, I had no money to live in London. She offered me her house. She offered me a room in her house. She was like, Jordi, we want you in the college. You have a room. The way to pay me is when we finish every day, just clean every single studio. So at the end of the day, I finished my training. I was going all the way through the studios, cleaning the mirrors, doing my stuff. So, man, it's all about being humble and appreciative, really. You know, don't take yourself too seriously, and understand that when people help you from the heart, you owe them your life, really. So that's what I did.
It's incredible, that sort of journey that you went on, and how everyone was so willing to give you and help you. I can tell from this conversation with your energy why that would have been, but I would love to hear from you why you think people were so receptive to you, so wanted to help you. What would you identify those qualities at that really attracted people to you?
Bailey, the only thing I can say is that I'm same again, you know, I think I said at the beginning, but I'm loyal. You know, if you give me a $5, you're gonna get 100 back. You know, if you one day you help me, believe me, I'll be there anytime for you. I really believe in karma. Karma is a really positive thing that came through martial arts. All that training, I really believe in that. So maybe these people were like cognitive, they knew, okay, this guy has something that is not just dancing. I do have I just if people give me anything, I make sure that I'll give it to them 1,000-fold.
This
Amazing.
is what you're saying there, Jordi, is it's old school values. It feels like a lot of people used to be like that. Yeah. And nowadays, for some reason, there's a lot of distractions and morals have just sort of gone out the window. And hearing you say about technique, we'll talk a bit more about technique later when we get into more of your college stuff about your college and what your opinions are on sort of today. But technique back then, it was just, it was what we did in the actual professional jobs. So we had to have it. How much, when you went from sort of doing your martial arts, when you did that audition initially at your, I mean, I'm not sure if it was you didn't have a clue what it was. You just being asked to come in, and suddenly you've been like, what's it called? Like blindsided almost by, basically back then, if they found a good boy, if they found a boy that they thought they would, colleges would move mountains. And it doesn't surprise me to hear, saying about thingy Urdang. What's her name? Leone, did you say?
Leone, yeah.
Yeah. Because it was just like, it was a point where there were so few boys, but the boys were really into it. They were really into it, and I think you're right when you said about being so focused, so you didn't actually see so much. And that's in the end how my friends left me alone and stopped calling me names or whatever, because they saw how focused. So how you went from the martial arts into sort of dancing. How hard was that to I know it's obviously similar in a sense of being able to calm your mind and get these things sort of working, but being able to do pirouettes, being able to do kicks, split jumps and all these things, when did you feel throughout your training that you were ready for professional life? And did you when you went into your professional career, did you feel like you were still learning on the job, or did you feel prepared? How was that sort of first few sort of, I suppose, 6 months going out and auditioning and stuff like that?
Well, Stuart, this is it's a great question. It's a great question because I still, at nearly 62, I don't think I'm ready. I never stopped learning. When I graduated, I never thought I was good enough. People were giving me work, but I thought like I gotta get better. Then I was looking at people around me, and I'm seeing all these incredible dancers around me, and I just feel like I want to be like them. I want to be like you. So always like doing extra classes, even though you're a so-called professional, but always doing like classes here, there, and everywhere, trying to get with all the styles that I wasn't happy or familiar with. So I was trying to be a better dancer all the time on all styles. So it's and I've always had this thing that like some people call it an imposter syndrome. I just call them that. I don't think you are ever good enough, ever. But what you should look for is to look for a little bit of a way of improving every day, even if it's by this tiny little thing. As a person, as a performer, as a human being, to me, that's really important.
Interesting. That industry that you came out into, how different do you feel that is to the industry that today you're setting your students up to go into? How different has it become? What are those changes that you've observed?
Wow, that's another great question. I love it. The questions are great. I think So there is a massive chasm between what it was and what it is, but not many differences. It's just like back in the day, like Stuart was saying, as a boy, things were easier. That's it. You know, I had more chances than boys do nowadays, without a doubt. You know, maybe I would have never worked if I graduated now in 2024.
That's what I say. That's what I say.
You know what I mean? It's like, I just don't, I really don't know. But I think, you know, basically, I think that it was easier for the boys to work. It really was. The industry per se, it's always been a fidgety little thing, hasn't it? You know, the bees, as we want to call it, we'd like to call it. It's just difficult and different every year. So every year has its own little waves, you know. So there are things that are like suddenly things are in vogue, and some things disappear, but they come back 5 years later. You know, it's one of them things. So I think, yeah, I suppose that the straightest answer will be like, you know, there is a lot different, but very little. So I think if you know what I mean, there is a lot of changes that have happened, but the industry per se still as finicky as it ever was.
So Jordi, let's just blow your trumpet a little bit with some of these credits you've done. I mean, I always, when I was at college and then my first few years, it was always like you were always working. And it was always the top things which was happening at the time. I remember that Fame tour. It was like a really exclusive Fame tour. It seems that it was going for a couple of weeks here and a couple of weeks there, and it seemed like a really well-paid job. And I remember thinking, all the best people are on that job, and you were on that Fame tour. But Jesus Christ Superstar, La Cava, Saturday Night Fever. I mean, you were just killing it. You did a lot of musical theatre, but you also did a lot of commercial work. Let's ask you, what do you prefer, and then which credits do you fondly most remember?
Wow. So, so I was a commercial boy with technique. So I always consider myself a commercial boy, because that's what I like to do, So even down to doing, E17 back in the day, you know what I mean? So it was one of the things, like touring with them and being like, whoa, Walthamstow, Posse and all that, It was interesting, with like boy bands like M&8 and stuff like that. But
oh my word!
Do you remember M&8?
You got me, no. You was it? That's M&8, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's so doing all that stuff, but I think that I only really enjoyed that side because it was the commercial of the time, when Sean Fernandez and Venel John used to choreograph and blah, blah, blah. And you used to go to Pineapple and you had to, so obviously being part of Pineapple, the dance agency and dancers and Big Chief and all these people. So all these agencies that don't exist anymore, but they were it back then. And with all of these choreographers coming from LA and all that rubbish. So that's what I saw myself, because I was doing, the clothes show at the NEC in Birmingham every year and getting paid stupid money.
That was the big job. That was the big commercial job, wasn't it? The clothes show.
And you know what? You were there with Jeff Banks, and, we were like so-called dancer models.
Yeah.
So we used to do all those jobs, and the money was better then than it is now.
Really?
Yes.
Fascinating. I'm telling you now, we were paid handsomely. Mm-hmm. So it was, the money was always very good. But, to answer your question, so I was doing all this, but I did like my singing as well, and I did like my acting. And as soon as I think it was on the I mean, I did quite a lot of musical theatre, both at Bodywork and Urdang, so I always liked that. But it was pretty much the fame, the European tour, when I thought, like, you know what? I had enough for 5 years, solid work in the commercial world. I said, I've had enough of that. And I want to now show a little bit of my technique that people might not know that I have it, show a little bit of my voice that people definitely didn't have a clue that I had a voice, and my acting skills as well. So yeah, I went to Fame the European tour, to the audition, without my agent knowing, because my agent was like, Jordi, what are you doing? You know, it was Peter from Dancers. He was like, what are you doing? You know, I can get you commercial work every week. What are you doing? I'm like, Peter, I don't want this anymore. I want to like spread my wings. So he was like, okay, well, just call me next week. Yeah, I know that you're going to be all right, blah, blah, blah. So he would not put me through. He didn't want to put me onto this. So I went to an open audition for Fame the European tour. So obviously, back then, it was still a cattle call. Still. You know, so millions of people in that room, blah, blah, blah. But I was going through the rounds and I was doing okay and all that. And obviously, it was Anthony Van Last, you know, choreographing that. And yeah, I just managed to.
Jordi, you're just dropping names all over the place there. Actually, Van Last. I mean, here, oh, God, I feel like this is like a trip down memory lane big time. Hearing those agencies as well and thinking, where have they all gone? I mean, I remember do you remember EMO when they put out a letter to everyone saying they re-auditioned everyone. They re-auditioned everyone and then put out a letter that it was over after charging everyone for the audition. Bad. But wow, I mean, some of those, I feel like that was a golden period. I really do. It was a golden period. You know, just after you, I suppose the commercial era then went into all Christian Storm and Mark Webb and all that kind of generation. And it was just a golden generation of just, if you were dancing with an artist and you went on Top of the Pops and then CD UK and then the chart show, you could make thousands within a couple of weeks. Yeah. It was just such a different era, and I feel blessed to have been, you know, just sort of the tail end of that. So the fact that you were in that point when there was hardly, you know, there weren't that many boys at all. But the boys were good, though. I always felt that because they wanted to be, all the boys were good. I think you would work if you were dropped in nowadays, Jordi, because you were so professional and your technique. You know, you were just a great dancer and the energy. Yeah. So let's just, before we go on to we're going to talk about your daughter in a little bit and what it's like to have a daughter in the profession. But just you know, was there a point where you sort of decided, right, I've done enough work and I need to settle down, I need to stop going on tours, I need to do this, I need to, you know, was that when you and Nicola had started to have a family, or was there, because I remember there was a point where suddenly you became more of a teacher and more of a, you know, and you were doing less commercial work. Was that family, or what? Was there an actual decision there, or was it injuries, or what?
Well, you know, basically the teaching thing, I always loved teaching. You know, even when I was a student, I was choreographing, and, you know, I won a few choreographic awards and blah, blah, blah. So choreography was always there. So I was teaching even when I was a performer. So, so that became bigger and bigger and bigger, and colleges were just like opening doors like they do nowadays with, you know, when you do like a summer intensive, or you do like you know, like an Easter school or whatever. So yeah, we were always, I was always interested in teaching. So I was doing that while I was performing. But basically when Nicola had Adam, so I already thought, like, you know what, I need to start like bringing it down because all the commuting. I never moved to London. I was always doing the shows from here, from Cambridge. So I was always commuting every day to get to my show, 8 shows a week and all that. So
wow.
Yeah, I never actually moved to London. I always prefer the quiet of Cambridge, of here, of Cambridge, than having to be in the big city. So yeah, it was. And then Nicola 2 years later had Colette, and that was when I was playing Tariq. I mean, I was blessed to play leads as well on the West End and blah blah blah. Blah. So when I played Tariq in La Cava, which was the best show to ever go, to disappear with. Not many people know La Cava as a show, but La Cava was a show that was put on by Eon Productions, the people from the 007 films. So it's Cavi Broccoli and, Dana Broccoli. So massive Hollywood money came into this production. It was the largest production there was on the West End. Everyone was comparing us to Les Mis, but it wasn't like that at all. I was able to sing, to have my own, be on a soundtrack, an original cast, blah, blah, blah. So that's always lovely. But it was then, I turned 40 that year. And I just said to Nicola, enough. And that was it. As soon as I said enough, I said to my agent, who was Piers Gilbert from Reanimator. So I just said, Piers, time to go. You've been lovely. He really took good care of me while I was on the MT world. I said, well, yeah, this is enough. I've had enough. I've had a beautiful time, but it's now time for me to concentrate on teaching, choreographing, doing all that. So, the rest is all. I started building a portfolio, teaching for colleges and blah blah blah. It's been a blast so far.
Awesome. So at this point in your career, obviously you're starting to now branch into more heavily teaching. I would love to hear what your philosophy is as a teacher. What are you trying to instill in your students? Obviously, we know there's always technique, but in their mentality, in their approach, what is like the dream student for you in the way they approach a lesson?
Well, Bailey, and probably you know that because I've heard that you were pretty much my kind of student by Julie, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she loves you. She loves you to death, that woman. So I tell you what, I just like people that it doesn't matter if they come to my class with a great dancing baggage or they come with nothing. If you're in my class, I am going to be very friendly and open to you. You got to give me that straight back. So I'm not very good at keeping barriers. I am a teacher, you're a student, let's keep that there. That's enough. I think that if we're on equal terms, as soon as we get to know each other, at least you know exactly what I expect from you. And then you know exactly what to expect from me. So I'm never going to mince my words. But at the same time, I am going to give you chance after chance because I believe in that. I was given all kinds of chances. And I learned that from the best. Stuart Arnold, one of my greatest mentors. I will forever be grateful to him. He has been like a beacon to me, like since forever. Still now, I'm lucky enough that I'm going to be working next week with him again. We've got a little project as well on the go that I just hope that it develops because I love that man. So he was like a real champion of me. So I learned from him how, it's all about empowering people. Just empower people. Sometimes you will not get what you want from people, but then again, no one's perfect. Neither ourselves or neither the people that come into your class. So, I think, we all learn from each other, and that's my philosophy, really.
Jordi, I'm going to say this, but dare I say here that we have 3 generations. I thought you were just a few years older. I didn't realise you were a good 10, whatever it is. So we've got 3 generations here, and we've all been taught by Stuart Arnold. Like it's crazy. Bailey, just. Was he still when it was? Is he still teaching now? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
He is just the most incredible teacher, because what it is with him, very much like you're describing there, Jordi, he's about the people he teaches, not you have to look exactly like I want you to look. I always remember with Stuart Arnold, one lesson I had with him, which is where I recognised this thing of like treating your students as people, where he like absolutely grilled me for about 20 minutes in a lesson. I was like, oh God, he hates me now. Immediately after the lesson finished, he was like, right, you're walking back with me. I used to walk back, he'd catch the train back from Scarborough at the end of every day. As soon as that lesson finished, same as he would every week, he was like, cool, you're walking back to the station with me. And I was like, oh, okay, lesson's done and we're just normal and friends again. And I was like, that's such a beautiful quality that when they're going hard in class, it's not about attacking someone, making them feel stupid. It's just wanting the best for them. Because as soon as the class is done, you feel that love back from the teacher. And I think that's such an essential quality. I'm sure you've probably noticed this, Jordi. With the like current generation, which to be honest is my generation, there is often this sort of mindset amongst the industry that they're a weaker generation, they always want to complain. And from kind of being inside that generation, I can understand exactly where it comes from. However, I often felt that the problem was more in kind of the oversaturation of numbers in colleges, that we never had a connection with our teachers. So with like Stuart Arnold, I'd always know after the lesson, we were friends. So it was always coming from a loving place, even when he was tough on us. But there were so many teachers that we had who we just never got the time to have a connection with because they had too many students. And they're the times that then you were like, oh, does that teacher hate me? And because you never had the conversation, you never knew. How do you feel that is from more of a teaching side, Jordi? Do you feel that same thing with the students?
Absolutely, Bailey. You spot on. You know, the overcrowding thing that you just mentioned in there, to me, that's a problem. It's a problem because obviously, you know, this is not very PC to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I think that there is a lot of people that believe, for whatever the reasons, that they can be performers, even though they don't have the love for performing. So it has now become clear that there's people that think like, okay, once I finish school, what shall I do? Okay, I'm just going to give this performing arts Malaki 3 years of my life because it's being paid for. So, you know, we're going to get the funding anyway. So I might as well just spend like a 3 years holiday. For some people, I really believe that back in our day, so we're talking about 3 generations, and yes, you're right, Stuart. We're 3 generations here talking, and it's incredible because I always think that it doesn't matter. It's not a generational problem. It's do you love what you're going to embark on enough, or you're doing this on a whim and a hope? You know, because if you're going to do it with a hope and a prayer, I just don't think that you have the tools, the necessary tools to get into this industry. Because the 3 of us know, because you guys being in an agency and a management company, you guys know, if you don't have the goods, you're out. You know, people chew you in and they throw you out like this. You know, and it is one of these industries. It's unforgivable to go into this industry without knowing exactly what to expect. So that has to come from your mentors. That has to come from your teachers. That information needs to be relayed to you by your teachers, you know, so you don't expect Disneyland and then you find yourself in the Bronx.
Me and Bailey we've discussed a lot on the podcast, especially the ones that me and Bailey do just on ourselves. Our podcast is split into 2. We have the guest episodes, and then we have the Bailey Stuart nerdy episodes, which I don't think anyone watches. But we have often talked about the state of colleges today, and we've talked about the lack of care, really, about technique. And my biggest thing is, you know, back in the day for boys, it was like, how many pirouettes can you do? How high can you jump? You know, how far? You know, how long can you do it for? I'm going to, every now and again, I submit to these invites that we get to colleges and I go watch them, and I'm surprised about pirouettes. Pirouettes is my big, I wasn't the greatest at everything else, but I could do 7 or 8 pirouettes, and all the boys, we used to have pirouette little competitions and things. I'm seeing all the time now, Jordi, people falling out of 2 pirouettes. So I just think, why are they even bothering teaching them if they're not, if you're not going to do them properly? And obviously, it's not something now that in the commercial world you're going to see kicks and stuff like that. Really, yes, possibly bigger commercial sort of events and that you are going to see technical dancing, but generally behind Dua Lipa, people like that, you're not going to see kicks and turns and split jumps. But do you think it's that they don't care so much about technique now, or is it because there's too many people in there to learn it intensely? Or why do you think that we're not getting en masse the technical dancers anymore?
Well, you know what? Same again. I'm loving all your questions. You are so on it. Both of you. So to me, it's so. My classes are all about American jazz technique. They've always been. So the stuff that I do, the stuff that I teach comes from Alvin Ailey. So it's Horton based. So you've got Horton, a little bit of Matt Mattox, a little bit of Luigi. Those 3 techniques combined, you've got the perfect jazz dancer. It's gonna be kicks forever, feet forever, pirouettes forever, technique forever. That's it. And the stuff that you have to do is like the Americans are really good at is conditioning. It's about repetition. You don't get good by going to class and just dancing. That might be something that you want to do in class as a student, but in my classes, I bore them to death with what I call the walking warmer, which is something that I learned a long time ago from an Alvin Ailey choreographer, this lady that came to Bodywork called Deirdre Lovell. So she came there and she showed me something. I've developed my own little class that can last 3 hours, But I tell you what, I'm going to be kicking everyone's tushes into line because technique is about repeating the same things again and again. You're not good at anything until you've done it 10,000 times. So I don't know why people believe that, you can go into a college. Like you were saying, you guys are saying the right things in here. There are colleges now that they just worry about their commercial, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
If that is your brand, that's your brand. There are colleges that are more interested in more like cruise line work, cruise liners and stuff like that, which is cool as well. And there are colleges, that still keep some old values, So I like to believe that every time that I do guest in any college, people get something slightly different. It's something that will make them think, because what I do is it's not brain work. It's just basic technique. You get cracking with basic technique, and suddenly, voila, you get very good at doing your 4 and 5 pirouettes with the arms properly placed, with your head turning as it should, with your leg on a really high retire, pointing your feet. All those tiny little bits that people are missing now. Like you were saying, Stuart, I still remember the pirouette competitions at Bodywork. My God, those were going on forever. And it was like a proper thing that we did back in the day. It was like, how many turns can you do? It was like challenge time, you know what I mean? So that doesn't happen. Nowadays people are happy if they can pull a good double, maybe a triple. A triple is considered a miracle. You turn a triple, man, and you are like the talk of the town, and it's like, are you kidding me? So
you haven't even gone up on your retire to its highest, but by the time you've got round your 3rd time, do you know what I mean?
It's so true. Again, to put a reflection from my generation, which I'm going to drop a question for you, Jordi, at the end of this. When I arrived at college, I could do 5 pirouettes on both sides. Obviously, I was lucky enough training with Julie, who is very, very old school, training with Stuart Arnold before I went, for a brief period training with Alan Harding before I went. I had the proper technical training. arriving at college doing 5 pirouettes, my first lesson of pirouettes at college, they never said how many pirouettes we were doing. They just said, let's do pirouettes. So I went in, I did my 5, and they went, whoa, too much. We're only doing 2 for the first year. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Went back, did 2. By the time I left college, I'd still never done anything more than 3 in a class. Yet I arrived being able to do 5. And I often think this links back to the oversaturation. Because there's too many people, they can't train the individuals. So no one ever even realized that I already knew how to do 5, because they were too busy actually making sure that the whole class could do 2. How important do you think that is to have small enough numbers that you can train the individuals, find what each one is good at? So I also think there's certain dancers who are great at commercial who may never be great at jazz. And a lot of the bigger colleges never track down where each student should fit and where to push them. What's your philosophy on that, on like training the individual, nurturing the individual, Jordi?
Well, Bailey, I think same again. First of all, you came, with a solid background in jazz. So you were doing your 5 periods on both sides. So you were technically aware. So now, unfortunately, when you go to colleges, and I'm even talking the one I'm head of dance here, which is EPA. When they come on the first year, you sort of need to retrain everyone a little bit, because everyone comes with habits and little things from the dance schools, which is all good, but it's nice to get them to a common ground. So if you get them to a common ground, which is why this thing that I do, this walking warm-up thing, is so good, because it stops everyone. So you become a little machine for me. And when I see you coming all the way to the floor and you don't stop, this class is a nightmare. You should try it. I'll invite you both to do my class one day, because you would love it. You would love it, because it's a killer, but at the same time, it takes you back to good technique. It takes you back to the values, to the values that I hold dear anyway. So to me, it's all about technique. So it has to be individually. To me, it's really easy to individually correct people, because they're coming 2 by 2 across the floor, and I can see every single one. I'm in the middle. I'm coming the other way, so I correct them left, right, and center. I can see them all coming. These guys don't stop at all for the whole lesson. There's no stopping. Once they learn the routine, they need to carry on that routine again and again. It's like when you learned Stuart's warm-up. You knew it by heart, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So there you go. It is one of them things that if you do the same thing again and again, you're going to be very good at that. And if it's technique never goes old, ever. So technique is it's always in fashion. So as far as I'm concerned, in answering your question, I take great pride in that, while because of the system that I use, I'm able to hopefully, because you're always going to miss 1 or 2 people on every lesson, but hopefully everyone gets a correction that helps them to get to the next step. Everyone will get a correction in class. So I think that helps. If you get the saturation in a class, if you get like 40 people in a class and you just have them like you at the front and the 40 of them spread out in the studio, realistically, how many people are you going to be able to help? Not many.
For sure.
The people that are on the front line, right? The people at the back are going to be like, so yeah, that's the answer. I just oversaturation breeds contempt, and that breeds people that will be hiding in class as opposed to striving. So
yes, this way you say hiding is very interesting as well, because I do think this is what almost breeds some of that mentality issue, where Stuart's always describing like the boys in your era would have been like in the mirror challenging each other. Then in my era, because it's everyone has to learn 2, then once we've all done it, then we can all learn 3. We're never even put in a way to compete with each other. So it's like we never got that hunger to try to be better than the next person. And I think that's what then when people go out to auditions, they don't have that same attack, that same drive. It's almost been instilled back out of them. One more question rooted in this with the whole kind of the mentality of my generation, really. how do you feel the respect is that comes your way? Do you think the respect comes for the right reasons? I'm going to link this back into a little story, which is when I was in training, we had Colin Lang teach us, who I don't know if you know Colin. And yeah, so he taught us the whole 3 years, and we never really knew like what he'd done in his career, etc. Myself, having come from Julie, that like, I guess I have a bit of an old school mentality, really. I was like, it doesn't matter if I know what his credits are, who he knows, what he's done. I'm going to be there in his class, solid every day. So many people, because it was Colin and they didn't know, would flake off his class, etc. And I remember it weren't until we were in third year that we went into a class with Mark Webb. And Mark was like, oh, who have you just had before this? And we said Colin. And he was like, you have Colin teach you. You guys are so lucky. Colin did this, did that. And there was then so many students being like, I've not given him the respect he should have deserved. Why haven't I turned up for his classes? And it was like they'd seen that they'd been disrespecting him, but that seemed like it was all built on top of they didn't know his credits, not just disrespecting as a teacher. And I wonder if you ever get this feeling that people don't give you the respect. People aren't respecting you based on your teaching. It's all about the credits, or they're not respecting you because they don't know the credits, when it's all misaligned. How do you feel the way people view respect? What's your take on respect?
Yeah, well, respect is paramount, isn't it? Respect should always be there, whether you know people's credits or you don't.
Exactly.
Anyone that comes to teach a class, you should take it, upon yourself to be grateful that that person is there in front of you, imparting wisdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, whether you like no one ever loves every single teacher, every single class. But the one thing that I can tell you is that every single teacher I had, I was always very respectful to them, whether I liked them or not. Class is their domain. Outside, whatever. It's funny you say that, because it is a generational thing, unfortunately, and I don't think no one should ever flaunt their credits. I never have, and I don't think I don't have to. I never will, because whether do you like my class? Brilliant. You don't? Brilliant too. So it is one of them things that I just don't think that should be like a damn thing. But mind you, you will expect, I would expect students to take a little bit of an interest and finding out a little about you, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because I think that's always important. I believe in, respect goes both ways. So you're going to find everything about them in the 3 years that you have them with you. Maybe these kids should, in the 3 years, at least find a little bit about who's teaching them. So yeah, it is. I think respect has gone a little bit out of the way. I don't think that 100% exists. So you're obviously going to get great students, and you're going to get sometimes not so great students. It is what it is, as they say.
So one last question on sort of colleges and teaching and that. How have you navigated? Because you've taught for a long time now, so you would have seen the changes in how colleges are run. Layers of red tape, having to sort of look after people and mollycoddle and make sure that they're okay without touching them and all these things, and don't say this and don't say that. I came from, when I was at Bodywork, if you were a scholarship student, we were cleaning the toilets, we were doing everything, and like you said, with you were cleaning the studios when you was at Urdang. It was a completely different time, and it was like a hard knocks time. And yes, obviously there was, I'm sure, things going on which shouldn't have gone on. However, I feel like now, if I was to go and teach and go, I haven't taught now for about 3 or 4 years, I don't think. But if I was to go out and teach at colleges, I feel like I would be very apprehensive about saying the wrong thing, looking the wrong way, or how have you, first of all, seen those changes? And, do you think they're changes for the better? And have you ever felt, have you ever been told off, for example, for being too Jordi, too energetic, too, because I feel like, anyone of a certain age must find it annoying that there are now these kind of rules and, what's your take on it?
Well, Stuart Arnold says a lot about this, and it's, there is a term called snowflakes, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that term, I don't 100% agree with the actual term and what it implies, but I absolutely get what the term says. Okay, so colleges have changed. And the world has changed. So we need to do exactly the same, basically. So performing arts colleges need to catch up with the times. So sometimes you just need to. There are things that you might not 100% agree with, but it's the right thing to do. So you stick with it and you stick with the program. I've been very good at carrying on with the program, but at the same time, everyone knows that they're getting enjoyed the class. That I'm not going to change ever, and if you like it, great, and if you don't employ me. Just don't employ me, because I'm able to create my own work, so I'm in that club where I'm lucky enough that I can. So it has changed a lot. But and I agree, you might, especially being like 4 years out of the loop, if you were to teach in a college, there is so much red tape, my friend. There is so much. It's like crazy, with all these enhanced DBSs and this, that, and the other, and different funding bodies that you have to run, like jump through hoops, to fit all the criteria and fill all the paperwork, which really means absolutely nothing when it comes to performing, as you guys know, because you're agents. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be asking anyone for, what did you get at the end of your 3 years course? What did you get on your BA course? You know what I mean? Instead of like that, is are you good enough to join our agency? We're interested in representing you because you are good or you are terrible. Innit?
Absolutely. Is there anything in this red tape that you feel makes your job harder to do at all? Reason I ask this, when I was in first year of college, I'm not going to name his name because I don't want to get him in trouble, but we actually had a ballet teacher who would still hit us in class. Yeah, he's one of the best teachers I ever had, because you would never make that mistake twice. Obviously, he would never be allowed to do that, but that changes everything about how he's achieving his results.
Yeah.
Is there stuff that you feel impacts and actually retracts from how well you can teach?
Well, you know what? It's I'm really pretty much the master of my own destiny here, because I am lucky enough that the colleges, for example, at EPA, I have a great team at the office that they know how much I hate paperwork, so they make my life as easy as they can when I have to fill students' forms and blah blah blah. In class, I'm pretty much my own beast. So I always want to see individuals. So usually, whenever I go to colleges, I ask them for them not to implement uniform on the day I'm there. I want to see the people. I want to see who they are. And that to me is important, because I get a vibe. But I fully understand the necessity of having a uniform. Because it has to do with discipline, and it has to do with respect. There are certain things, certain values that go with that. But at the same time, in my classes, I always make a point to that, okay, you're wearing the uniform on every other class. I know, I've seen it. Let me see who you are. Just come with me. So that, and that's it, really. So that's the way I navigate all that, really.
It's amazing, because I always remember, God rest her soul, Shirley, our ballet teacher. Shirley Rees Edwards. She once, I remember literally putting her finger almost up my bum, going, "Get up there," to tell me to stand up. And she only ever did it once, and after that I was always up, because I remember the feeling of her saying, "You've got to get up there," and she kind of poked my bum, and now whenever not now, but all throughout my career, whenever I was in a ballet class, whenever I needed to have a good posture, it was Shirley that was in my head going, "Get up there." And if she hadn't have done that, I perhaps would be, all the time sort of crouched over. I perhaps wouldn't have been able to get up onto that retire and do, lovely pirouettes and things like that. So it feels like, it's a shame, it's frowned upon now. You can't sort of just adjust, and you can't touch, and you can't say what you want to say, because of, I suppose, the small percentage of people who abuse those sort of powers, I suppose. But it's incredible to hear that you're still, and I'm sure Stuart. I can't imagine Stuart Arnold changing the way he taught as well. I guess people, for legends, I'll call you legends. For legends, it's a case of, well, we respect, we know, and unless there's suddenly 20-30 people in the background going, "Oh, he abused me," they might as well just leave you to teach, let you get on with your thing, because this is the way. And unfortunately, because there's been these I suppose individual sort of cases over the years where people have been abused or people have said the wrong things, it's kind of punished us all. So I'm glad to hear that you still are, teaching the Jordi way. And I'm glad to hear Stuart Arnold is as well. Stuart Arnold always inspired me because he didn't have great big flexible legs. And he always said to me, and it's the same with Darren Childs, it's not about how high you're getting it up, it's about your lengthening, it's about your breathing. And at that point I was like, oh, so I don't have to have my legs around here, they could be here but still lovely and the thing. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just there's no question now, I'm just literally reminiscing on just old school teaching and proper teaching, the ability to be able to actually sort of get hold of someone and say, right, you need to be here, you need to be up, you need to focus. Yes, we should one day go to a Jordi class, because I'm sure we'd love it. So Jordi, we need to now go on and move on and talk about, there is this, I think I've only met her a couple of times very briefly, so I can't say I know her, but there is this amazing professional female performer out there who has the guitar name. In the performing arts, I know your son is also a DJ as well, doing the thing. But for this purposes, we're going to only do interest in Colette, because obviously she's more into what we're talking about. What is it like having a daughter in the profession, following your footsteps? And for those who don't know, her name is Colette Guitart. She's already done so much. So go for it.
Yeah. So basically, you've taught her back in the day when you came to do a couple of our summer schools, and you were doing your flares in our garden and all that stuff. I still remember you. So you've taught her back in the day when she was just in our little part-time dance school, but then she went to Bodywork, and she graduated at 18, and she has not stopped working. Thank God. She has not stopped working. She's a star, man. She really is a star. That girl, hard worker, and quality-wise, she's incredible. I don't know. Have you seen her at all yet, or?
I've seen her. I've seen her when she did was in. I didn't go to watch it, but I saw a video of her performing from 6.
Okay, yeah. So basically, she she played the sixth queen, by the way. So she was but in the business they call her super swing. So she learned the six queens. So she was doing one day she was, Catherine of Aragon, and the next she will be someone else. So it was like lovely going to see her because you're playing six leads really. But yeah. Believe it or not, Nicola and myself, because Nicola was in the same profession as myself, as you know, and she was an incredible dancer herself. So we never wanted her to get into our profession because we knew how hard it was, and all the heartbreak that goes with it, all the insecurities, and we knew how hard it was. But that girl had her, she was 12 and she was already thinking of it. So yeah, it was one of the things that we just said, okay, so we're going to give you the best training we can in our part-time little dance school, and then when you go to college, you just need to go and kill it. So she did. She's well respected now. She's got a name out there. I think people know Colette Guitart, and she's now embarking on this brand new show by the creators of Six, called Why Am I So Single? So she is playing, she is an alternate lead. So she'll be playing, basically the lead is being shared. So they only had the first day of school last Monday. So they're actually starting to run, I believe, opens at the Garrick Theatre at the end of August. So, those guys, the creators of Six, they just can't do no wrong. Everything that I've heard about this already smells of a hit. So I'm really looking forward to to watch it. And at the same time, her husband, she only got married last month. Her husband is associate choreographer. So he is incredibly talented. He's a force of nature as well. A guy called Michael Naylor. He is incredible. You, my friend, both of you would love his stuff. His choreography is next level. Ridiculous. So yeah, I love what she does. She's doing it for the right reasons. She loves what she does. She lives and breathes for this. So I could not be prouder, and neither could Nicola. Yeah, we're very, very proud of her.
I'm sure it must be an absolute honour having a child following in your footsteps like that. How does that feel as a parent, like sat in the theatre on opening night, ready to watch her do her thing? And obviously reflecting yourself having been there and done that as well. How is that experience for you?
Bailey, I would say that, you need to ask that question to Colette, because I'll tell you why. Because she's always like, whenever she does a new job, she's like, Dad, I'm fed up of people asking me about you. That whenever I start a new job, it's like, oh, are you Jordi Guitart's daughter? And she's like, no, I'm Colette Guitart.
He's my father.
Yeah, that's made the like. Yeah. No, I'm doing the show for her, aren't I? I'm there, I'm breathing every minute, I'm singing every note. I just know, what it feels like. You two know this. You two know because you've been there, you've done it. But we're in the best business in the world, right? We are in the best business in the world, bar none. If you don't love what we do, seriously, are you mental? What's wrong with you? So, I really appreciate every second, and especially when I see her enjoying herself. Someone like her that, I just remember that naturally she was pretty much like me. It took her a little while until she found her stride, and once she found her stride, bang, end of. That's it. So yeah, it's the feelings are incredible. It's like I never look back and say, oh, I wish I could still do this. There's only one show that I would go back and do, and it's just because now I'm old enough. I was playing it a little bit too young, but I would do La Cava again. if La Cava opened again, I would go there and do it. This is the only thing ever. If anyone offered me anything else, I would say, no, thank you. Really, I love you too, but you see, that I would do. But in the meantime, I just let the star do her thing.
God, I don't know how you can do it, because I have a son who's 5, and he started to, they do little school plays and things, and I tell you, I'm in bits. I am just hearing him come on and just say, "Welcome to Yellow Class Assembly." I'm like, oh my God, I can't. I mean, as a choreographer, when I used to watch whatever I'm out in the theatre, or I'm out at the back of the event or whatever, I used to have this like cold sweat on me, or feeling of, oh my God, I hope they do well. I can't imagine what it must be like watching a show with your daughter being one of the leads for, in a West End show and stuff like that. Oh my God, I think I would be, I don't know, I'd be crying. I wouldn't be able to handle it. But I suppose she's now been doing it for so long that you're getting used to it.
Well, I don't think you'll ever get used to it. I really don't, because every time I go and see her, I sweat like a crazy man. I mean, seriously, people must be around me and think like, what is wrong with this guy? You know what I mean? So it's like, no, like, shut up. I just know how hard it is. You know that yourself. You've been there. Same with you, Bailey. I mean, we know how difficult it is to stand there. Like when I used to be at the London Palladium, 2,500 people there watching you every night, and you delivering your songs. It's what a feeling. When you have the audience on the palm of your hand, man, when there's no one talking, everyone is like that. Nothing compares to that feeling. Nothing. So every time I go there and I watch her, I'm part of that. I'm just there in awe of her, and I just know what it takes to get out there and do what she's doing, and I've got the utmost respect for my baby girl. So yeah,
I feel like for me, she will always be your daughter, no matter how big she gets. Sorry to say, Colette.
Don't tell her that.
Go on, baby.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I'd just be interested to get your thoughts, Jordi, on how this kind of fandom has built around musical theatre, particularly Six. Obviously, with Colette, you'll have seen this brand new way of social media and everything. How crazy the fans go for it. How do you feel about that, and how different does that feel from your era of the West End?
You know what, Bailey, I think obviously social media has a lot to answer for on this one, but I really I see it as a 9 times out of 10 a plus, because I love musicals, I love musical theatre, I have all the time in the world for that world, that's giving me so much, and it's giving my daughter so much, and it's so much happiness. But there's a dangerous 1% in there that I'm not really sure, because with all the fandom come the nasty side of fandom, that they can actually say anything they want out there online about people, and that sometimes I've seen my daughter distraught and destroyed by certain comments sometimes, because she has been doing this, as you guys say, for a while. So when she started, she did 27 with Arlene Phillips and Ryan Lee Seeger. So they were the 2 choreographers. 27 was an incredible show, and then she went and did Wonderland. She did the UK tour of Wonderland, and then she went into Bat Out of Hell and Six, and as well, she did the Live Aid show, just for one day, and so every once in a while, between all the incredible comments, there is something really nasty. There is an underlying nastiness to our business, which you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I just wish people gave that a thought before become a keyboard warrior and deliver something that can really, really, really affect badly anyone, let alone my daughter or any other performer in the world that has had bad critiques. I mean, everyone loves a bad review, don't they? We're like there. You always expect that. Yeah, there's always going to be one bad, but critics are critics. But from fans, when some vile comes out, it's not very nice. So, I would just say, please, guys, understand that everyone is a human being. There's no one out there that's bigger than you. They're only doing their job. That's all we do. So please, a little bit more respect.
Wow. Yes. Well, let's move on from Colette. Actually, say that perhaps you could facilitate in the future how she could come on the podcast, and we can say the same questions to her about you and see what she says.
She loved that. Well, Stuart, I mean, you know her because she auditioned for you back in the Urdang days. So, it's just contact her, because I'm pretty sure that she would love to.
Yeah,
so
we will. It'd be so interesting to. We'll keep some of these questions that we've got here, and we'll ask her exactly the same questions. But it's so funny to hear that she's always hearing, people are asking about you, Jordi. It's because I think, you are such a well-loved person. You're a very genuine person, and you've always been, to me, you whenever we talk, whenever we see, it's always like, I feel like you always, Stuart, how you doing? And I always enjoy seeing you, even if it's just for a second. I always enjoy seeing you. And you're right, I did come and teach 1 year at TGS, isn't it?
That's correct.
Tell us about TGS, and what also, that's been going for quite a while. As well as TGS, what else have you got? What have you got? Any other future plans? Where are you teaching at the moment? Tell us what's happening right now.
Yeah, well, TGS, it's our baby, really. So TGS has been going on for as long as Nicola and me have been married, which is 31 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a tiny little dance school. It's one of these. We just did a summer show last week, and it went really well. It's one of these places which we do what we want. So basically, we don't use any syllabus. We've never had syllabus. We've never had uniform. We basically has been like, do you want to give this a go? Come to us and let's see how good we can make you. We have an incredible roster of ex-students doing the Western thing, but obviously they've gone from TGS into a college and then boom, So it's really cool. I mean, it's really lovely when that happens, and it happens on a regular basis. So we just love what we do, and even though, this year was interesting. Every year there's parents that when they see our show, they're like, guys, don't you want to become bigger? Don't you want to like your own premises? Don't you want this? And we're like, no, because we never started this with that in mind. We always went like, we saw how the dance world was in 1993, and we didn't like what we saw because it was all about ISTD, BTDA, all kinds of syllabus and medals and trophies and stuff like that, and people wearing uniforms and stuff like that. And Nicola and me were like, okay, that's all cool, but we don't like it. So let's do something different. So we did. So we started something with the values that we've been talking to the whole day that we've been here together, So all about, okay, let's just do it. Why don't we work on free work? I can teach, let's just do free work. Let's not do any syllabus whatsoever. Let's just, instead of making you a machine of looking good in an exam, let's make you a dancer. Let's make you able to actually move, pick up choreography. And when we got guest teachers coming in, they feel like, whoa, these guys can dance. As opposed to, yeah, you know what I mean? So to us, it's very important. It's always been that. It's always been a labor of love. and that the labor of love continues 31 years later. So, and yeah, about projects, the moment we're working, so tonight I have a rehearsal for something we're doing from another friend of ours. For the school is called United Arts, yeah, and it's the beautiful Jason Gray and Laura Gray.
Ah, yes.
So basically, we're actually doing this show on Saturday evening. So we're actually doing a little rehearsal tonight, and tomorrow I've got a rehearsal for something else we're doing on Saturday, but that happens. It's a massive festival that we're doing down here in Cambridge. So I've got a different company doing that. Then next week, I'm doing a nice little one-day intensive with Stuart Arnold and Charlie King, who I believe you would love. Charlie King is a commercial choreographer, but when you see someone that you love the way they teach, that's Charlie King.
It's interesting. I think Stuart Arnold mentioned his name to me a couple of weeks ago.
Is that right?
Yeah. Almost said exactly the same as you just have.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
So I tell you what, Stuart has the same eye. I have the same eye as Stuart, really. Because when you see someone that you love the way they teach, I just love being in the company of good teachers. So I am going to be with two beautiful human beings and beautiful teachers. So we're in Leicester, in Studio 79 in Leicester. So we're doing an intensive on the next Wednesday. And then the week after is our summer intensive. So we've got crazy guests. We've got Jacob McIntosh. We've got LJ Halliday, that did Big Britain's Got Talent just now, Leighton. Then we've got, Louis Macrot as well in there, who he just did, he was the dance captain in Hamilton, but he's incredible, everything. And then Charlie Bruce as well, who's Echo Days, obviously she won So You Think You Can Dance. So she lives locally as well. So great guests, and they're all about dancing and being amazing. So yeah, there is quite a lot happening. And then holidays, Stuart, Bailey, I'm going on holidays.
Well deserved.
This sounds, it's so amazing that still you can, when someone says what you're up to, you're like, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, and I've got this covered up. Like, it's so good. And may I say, yes, Charlie Bruce, we have, she's done a guest episode that you can check out. We'll put the links always down below. Oh man, wow. We're gonna have to wrap up very soon, but it's just so lovely to talk to you, Jordi. You are one of these true, lovely, amazing people who is also, has also had a wonderful professional dance performing career. I see the two things completely separate. A lot of people have good careers, but they're not necessarily the good person that goes with it. And the fact that you are still at your much older age than me, going for it. The fact that you're still doing that and still in demand and people still want you, is that's just a testimony to you. It really is. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything? Where could if people are in the Huntingdon area or Cambridge area and they want to, perhaps if they want to join TGS, or perhaps if someone wanted to follow you, where's the best place for people to go?
No, first of all, instead of plug, I just want to plug you guys. So just make sure that you share your stuff with me, because I will share the love. Because I think that what you guys are doing, obviously, I saw ICAT's, podcast, and I saw Chiquitina Andreas as well. Really enjoyed them both. I think you guys are really good with your questions, and I'm really looking forward to watch Charlie Bruce's as well, now that you've mentioned. So I will be checking that out, and Christopher Tendai as well. So, seriously, I really appreciate what you're doing. I love you, man. So, because I've known you since forever. And I still remember that stupid day where you, Sapol, and me were going to an audition for Michael Jackson's choreographer. I don't know if you remember that we did it was like planes, trains, and automobiles in London. because we were going to be late to that audition, and we were like, oh my God, but it's Michael Jackson's choreographer. How can we miss this audition? And we did everything. And once we got there, it was the smallest room ever. And it was 5 of us at the time. It was ridiculous. But we had such a laugh, so it's things like that I'll remember forever. And you like breakdancing in my garden. Little things like that. And now, obviously, knowing the beautiful person that you have here alongside you in the agency, Bailey, what a great asset, man. So I just want to thank you guys for having me. And if anyone ever wants a little bit of Jordi love, just Instagram at Jordi Guitart 1, easy peasy. So there you go. That's my plugin.
Awesome. We will drop that link down below, so everyone go and check it out. Now, we've got one last question to wrap up, which is something we ask every guest. Sure, having watched a few episodes, you probably know what's coming, Jordi. If Variety magazine were to pick up you announce your retirement in 30, 40, 50 years, if Variety magazine were to pick that up and run a story on it, how would you want them to define your legacy? What are those qualities you would want to see them identify? And I guess for you as well, what would you want them to say about your students and what your students have brought forward, what you've instilled in them? What would you look at in the article and go, that is exactly how I'd want to be remembered?
Well, I think that we said that at the beginning, probably. I just want to be remembered. If anyone ever thinks of me fondly or kindly, just remember that we were family. You guys, the moment I get to know you, you become part of my family, and that will always be the case. So I suppose, just we are family. There you go.
Right. Wow. Before we end, I just want to say, if you haven't seen our latest guest episodes, then click the links below to see episodes with Chris Tendai, Christina Andrea, Dax O'Callaghan, and many more. Actually, before I pass over to you, Babe, to do the CTAs, very quickly, we're going to be judged on this question because it's happening on Sunday, and this won't go out until I think in a couple of weeks, actually. Who's going to win the football, England or Spain?
Stuart, you know this better than me, so I'm going to be supporting Spain. But the thing is, England has given me everything I've got. So no,
that's not good enough, Jordi.
No. I told you that I want Spain to win, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But at the end of the day, man, seriously, I have, my heart is a 50-50. So what can I say?
Well, we're going to be judged. Me and Bailey are both Bailey, what you go for? You're going for England.
Yeah, I'm back in England, absolutely. I'm terrified by that Lamine Yamal.
Oh,
that kid is incredible. Terrified for that, but I'm back in England.
I want to back England. I fear, I really do. Spain deserve to win it, to be honest. They're the only team who have actually dominated their sort of matches and stuff. England, how we've got there, I don't know. But we're there, and we're gonna pray on Sunday that we win. Go on, Bailey, wrap us up.
So before we disappear, subscribe to the channel, give us a like on the video, turn on your notification bell, let us know in the comments what you thought, and most importantly, drop in that description below, give Jordi a follow, keep up to date with everything he's doing. Thank you, Jordi, for joining us for this episode. It's been incredible to have this conversation with you. Your love is unparalleled.
Thank you, Jordi.
Well, thank you, guys. I love you loads. Seriously. Thank you again for having me. You're diamonds. Mwah.
Big love, man.
Great way to end. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.